What's going on there, fellow YouTubers? It's Chris back with you guys with another cool video. This video is basically a roundtable discussion about the moon and the anomalies that we have. It includes myself, my buddy Joe White, or Joe ArtAlien, as you guys are probably familiar with him on his YouTube channel. Check him out if you haven't. Donna Hare, who worked for NASA years ago. Bret Colin Sheppard, as well as Ken Johnston. So if you guys are not familiar with Bret, he actually is working with Ken because years ago what they did was they took a lot of the original Apollo mission photos, in fact just about all of them, and put them in a high quality scan type thing and then put them up on Flickr.com. So you want to check that out. This is where I get all my moon mission photos. It doesn't matter if it's just plain out moon or with the astronauts in the photos, whatever. I get it strictly from him because, as you guys know, if you look at the photos now, the Apollo missions from NASA now, they're completely washed. It's almost like they went, oops, we made a mistake. There's far too many anomalies being seen in these photos. Go ahead and go back through them and just wash them out. So yeah, check that out. But so yeah, give me a comment down below. Do you guys think there's still perhaps inhabitants on the moon? Do you think it was probably like Earth millions of years ago? There's some actual proof to actually support that fact. They still believe there's still water on. Actually, there still is water on the moon. It still has its own quakes every now and then, or whatever's going on with that. Some people believe the moon is hollow. And you'll see in this video we actually discussed that too. But there's a couple photos we discussed, and then we ask Ken as well as Donna Hare some questions about this. So check it out. Like I said, leave a comment down below. Share the photo as always. Guys, you know that. Throw me a thumbs up. Always greatly appreciated. So let's get on with the video.
10. Okay, Houston, we've had a problem here. 8, 7. This is Houston, say again, please. 5. Houston, we've had a problem. 3, 2. We've had a main B plus undervolt. 0. Roger, main B undervolt. Okay, stand by 13, we're looking.
Hello and welcome to Mars Moon Space TV. Those of you that has been following us on the channel has probably seen the last 2 episodes we had with Ken Johnston and Donna Hare that both worked on the Johnston Space Center in Houston. We had some very good debates last time we talked. We saw some pictures we talked about, and we heard about what Donna was doing on the Space Center and what Ken was doing on the Space Center. I want to welcome Ken Johnston first. Welcome, Ken.
Well, thank you, Thomas. Glad to be with you guys today.
We are honored to have you here. And Donna, the lovely Donna, welcome to you also again. I'm glad you could join us here again today.
Thank you. Thank you very much. I appreciate you asking me to come.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We will always have your words with us here when we are doing these anomalies shows here. Bret Colin Sheppard, welcome to you as well.
Oh, thank you, Thomas. Glad to be here.
We are
nice
glad
to see my friend.
Here. And we have Chris Moroney from Mars Anomalies, the YouTube channel. Welcome to you, Chris.
Thank you. Well, I'm glad we finally got on this time.
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
It's good to finally be on with Ken Johnson, Bret, and Donna as well, and it's just awesome.
Thank you.
We spent some time to make this work. We have Joe White from Mars ArtAlien TV with us also. Hello, Joe. How are you?
Hi, everybody. It's a great pleasure to be here. A real pleasure to meet you, Ken Johnston and Donna Hare. I've been looking forward to this. Real pleasure.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And
Thank you, Joe.
we will start looking at some pictures. And I know that both you, Ken, and Donna have got some pictures sent that you are looking at right now. And the first picture I want to bring up here is sent from Joe. It's a picture Joe has sent, and I will actually ask Joe to present his picture to us here and tell why did he choose this picture for this round of lunar anomalies.
Right. Well, this is an Apollo 8 image taken in 1968 above the moon. I'm not sure exactly the height above the moon it was taken, probably something between 50 and 100 miles, I don't know exactly, quite a long way up. And if you look at what I'll do is I'll show you the close-up first. There, I've got the main image here, which is the Apollo 8 image, the square one, and I've got here I've got a close-up of the anomaly, which has been enhanced, which at first glance looks like a crater, but when you actually enhance the image and turn up contrast, it turns into a structure, which looks like some kind of dome-like structure. And a friend of mine called Mike Mulder, who's an ex-NASA engineer, or at least an engineer who worked for a company that used to supply various things for NASA, has done a 3D rendition of it, or a 3D render of it in his 3D imaging program. And it looks, to all intents and purposes, like some kind of huge structure. I mean, this is about a mile or two across. I don't know the exact size, but it looks to be some kind of dome or huge building. Now, I couldn't tell you how old this thing is. It may be millions of years old, it may not be. It could be even much, much older. I was quite astounded. I did the video first, and then he sent me, about a month later, he sent me this image of the render he'd done, the 3D render, and I was absolutely flabbergasted by it, really, because what it shows is basically what it may have looked like when it was actually built. Now, obviously, what he's done here, it's got lots of symmetrical shapes and put them together in a 3D format to give you an idea of what the structure may have looked like once when it was built, perhaps. Now, it may not look exactly like that, but the shapes that are in the illustration are actually in the image. But of course, the image has been enlarged quite a lot, so you're seeing a lot of pixelation there. But you can actually see that it's not a crater in the original image here. It's right near the center. You can see this white thing right near the middle of the image. And it's basically a dome that's sticking up. It's not a crater. And you can see that it's sticking up quite clearly. What I try and do when I'm looking at space anomalies on the moon especially, is find an image where you can see the horizon, which gives you a orientation straight away. And you're more likely to see something sticking up if you're angled at the right angle, looking down on the moon, rather than looking straight down. And this one you can see clearly in the raw image, before anything's done to it, as you can see here, right near the center. And it's very bright, and much brighter than any of the other parts of the image, which says to me that it's something unusual.
This is a very interesting one. Ken, I would like to start with you. Is that something you have seen before?
Not exactly, and I want to be sure that I'm looking at the same image. The image of the lunar surface with the slight horizon, and you put a circle around the image. Okay, and then you've enhanced, actually enlarged, I should say, first, and then you've enhanced this thing so that we can see what where it looks like it's when it's pristine. We have seen, and yes, I have seen in some of our pictures and things in the archive, crafts that have zipped along below the Apollo command module or lunar module, and they are of a triangular type shape, such as this one. Now, the picture, let me find you again here with the circle around it. There we go. When I'm looking at that quite closely, it does look like it has the landing gear pods sticking down. Am I correct? It looked like
that's what I thought.
It looks like a bug, but
yeah. And one thing that struck me once I saw the 3D image that Mike did, the engineer, is it looks like a flying kind of ship of some sort that's kind of landed on the surface.
Yes.
Rather than something that's been built on the surface.
Well, what you have to take into consideration with that right now is that we were at about 65 miles above the lunar surface. You're looking at the curvature of the moon. That image would have to be miles across.
Oh yeah.
I mean,
it's
huge. That's not.
It's
not just little. It's not a little shuttlecraft that running.
Oh no, this thing is about is over a mile, probably over 2 miles wide.
Yes, absolutely.
At least, yeah.
Okay.
These
I was saying that yes, we have seen some images that were triangular shaped, but they were moving quite quickly across between the spacecraft and the lunar surface. So I wouldn't be at all surprised that that is something. But it does look like it's already landed, whatever it is.
Yeah, and I did kind of think after I saw the images I was sent by Mike Mulder, I looked at it and I thought it looks kind of like a transformer. Like you know, when we send a rover to the moon or to Mars, it's basically a transformer, it's a robot. And when it lands on the surface, it then folds the gear out, and the legs come out, and the solar array come out. I wonder whether this thing was kind of like a flying triangle, and then it kind of folded out as it landed, and then became a sort of base of some sort. You know.
I see. Well, it makes me wonder, though. You say robotic, but then if you're looking at the dome area at the top, where it looks like it actually has windows.
I mean, I'm not saying it's a robot, but I mean it's like a transformer, like a robot would be. You know, I'm not saying it is a robot, but perhaps it was built on the surface. We couldn't possibly say, but it looks like something that may have landed there.
I agree. And we have seen some triangular shaped things in some of the videos that were taken from orbit. So it'd be fascinating to see if it's if we could get with the Hubble, we could zero in on that area and see if it's still there. It could well have already left. I think that'd be a great way to approach this, to see if it's still there.
I would love to see closer images of it.
There's something to work on with that. Donna, have you seen something like this before? Have you heard about structures this size before on the moon?
Well, you know, from the scuttlebutt or rumors at NASA, which I found were always true, seemed to come, you know, the rumors always turned out to be true. There were craft, very large craft, sitting on the crater side when we landed, so they were seen. Now, as far as the description, I don't have that kind of, I think they were saucer shaped, but I don't have anything described like that I've heard about or seen on any pictures.
Yeah, let me jump in. On the pictures that you showed of the west coast of the United States, there was a craft that looked triangular shaped, somewhat like that. Am I correct?
No, I've never done that.
Oh, well, okay. The craft
I saw,
yes,
we had a close encounter. It was triangular, and it was right over my head. Now, I thought we were talking about things on the moon. In real life, on planet Earth, I've seen one that's square, but it was smooth. It didn't have like the pipes underneath it is what I saw. And it just had a glowing blue light underneath it that turned into a Star David, or the star that represents Judaism, Star of David. Now, it was very silent and very close to me and huge. And I would say, God, it wasn't miles big, but it was over 100 yards wide, I'm sure, above me. And quiet is all get out. That's what I saw in real time in my life. I've seen that. Now, I thought we were talking about things on the moon at NASA.
We are.
I've never seen a photograph with a triangular shaped craft on it at NASA. Never have.
But you would not be surprised when people talked about huge sized structures or craft, a mile wide craft or structures. That wouldn't make you surprised at all.
No, not at all. As a matter of fact, it seems to me, all my life I've seen the dish shape. I've always heard of the dish shape. It's only till recently I've seen the triangular shaped ones in the last few years, and I don't know if it's an upgrade so they can get here quicker. It seems to be a new form of their travel. Instead of a disc shape, they become more triangular. And to me, that looks like it's meant for speed to get here quickly. So, more quickly, or that's the impression I got from it, to travel more quickly here. It's more like an aim, you aim it at that. So, I wish I would have gotten pictures of what I saw, but I didn't. Sir?
It could be, as you said. something like an upgrade of what already was existing, an upgrading of craft and shapes. It could also have another origins than the ones we were used to see in the beginning of the Apollo missions. We are all seeing or remembering people talking about disc shapes object. That's the first thing we remember people talking about when we start talking really about UFOs in the 40s and 50s and 60s. Then it was all about
the thing is actually
object. Yeah.
Actually, the problem is with the flying triangle. If you see it from the front, it looks like a disc shape or a flying saucer. It depends on the angle you see it from. It only looks like a triangle when you're underneath it. If you see it from the side or the front, as many of the early UFO encounters, if you look at them in depth, they weren't actually flying saucers as such. They were not saucer shaped. They were kind of chevron shaped.
Oh, really?
Yeah, or even, I mean, from the front they would look like a disc, but they're not a round disc necessarily. Many of them were, but many of them weren't. So, I mean, the triangular shape obviously has been used a lot since, the end of World War II by us, of course. And who knows, it could be an upgrade, or it may be different people, or different race of people using a different type of technology. We don't know.
Exactly.
Yep.
I would like to ask Bret, because we have Bret here, founder of the Lunar Anomaly Research Society also, and I know you are Ken Johnston's right hand in these image search for anomalies on lunar images. Ken, what's your thoughts on the picture that Joe just presented here?
Well, I've seen the picture before. It was presented to me for the first time by Don Davis, who said that there were pretty good pictures of the backside, at least halfway, going around the backside. This one's the ship is going toward the Sea of Tranquility, I believe, and I don't know. Am I right about that, Joe? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, it's not, you can't see the Sea of Tranquility in the image, but it's kind of heading in that direction, I think, yes.
Yes, it's heading in that direction, and I have seen anomalies in that area before. There's actually there's actually a base on a long strip or an island, right, on the edge of the Sea of Tranquility up in the mid-center of that photo. And it doesn't surprise me at all to see a ship that size, because a friend of mine who is working for the secret space program still at this time wants to remain anonymous because otherwise he'd get shot or something. He told me that they have things up there that make Star Wars look silly. So it doesn't surprise me at all. He's working with the Solar Warden program, and used to be called Project Mayflower, and etc. So they do actually have a secret space program. In fact, each branch of the military has a secret space program. So we actually have some pretty heavy technology up there as well. And it also could be, from our friends, out toward the galaxy there. So it's hard to say who owns it, should I say. So, but if you're wondering if it's there or not, yes, it's there.
So if we are watching a movie like, so if we are watching a movie like Stargate Universe and see the ship Destiny, that is actually not something unrealistic. It could be very realistic in size and technology of what is, of course, a Hollywood production. It's a good one, but it does show what we are talking about here.
Yeah, as an image analyst, I can say that that they have a habit of when they smudge things out or make them look obfuscated, they break up the lines on the object. They don't completely erase it, So it's there. And as far as the foot pads and all that, that was probably what was obfuscated. Something that would tell us for sure that it's some kind of technology. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it does. And the thing is, I used to work in photo restoration years ago. I was a portrait artist for about 25 years, and that often involved restoring old black and white photographs and trying to restore sharpness and detail back into them. And often they were heavily damaged, as many of the Apollo images are. Lots of them have things stuck to them, and they have creases in them, and they have bits kind of torn off. As you must have seen, especially in the Hasselblad prints that have been scanned. And often there's artifacts. Oh yeah, they all have these little hairs and stuff stuck to them and stuff. And
unless you get a hold of those original pictures on my archive where they haven't had a chance to be messed with.
Yes, this is it. This is it. And of course, the ones on the Apollo archive on Flickr are pretty good. They're not brilliant, but they are really good. And they're high resolution, 300 pixels per inch. They're pretty good, and they're much better than a lot of other space images we get. Actually.
Now, which Apollo flight was this? I'm going to look through some pictures real fast if I can find.
This is Apollo 8. Yeah.
Apollo 8. Oh, okay. Thank you.
Yeah, 1968. It'd be great if you had an actual print of this. That'd be awesome.
I think he's going to go find something for us now.
If memory serves, he's got one of them in the series.
Love it. I love it.
I could find out which magazine it's from if you like. I don't know if that would help you.
Yeah, you literally have the guy with the actual archive sitting there thumbing through the actual, some of the actual images.
Gotta love it.
Oh my God.
That's kind of fun.
I'd love to be in that room right now just looking through them. Are you kidding me?
Oh yeah. Yeah.
I posted them on archive.org, Chris. Mm-hmm. Yeah, under Dr. Ken Johnston.
Yeah, I've got it.
Have a good time, yes.
Yeah, I've got the Internet Archive as well. In fact, I downloaded all of the pictures, and it's like, wow, those are phenomenal.
Oh, good. Yeah, what I did was I scanned them at a really decent resolution, and the reason why I rescanned them is because the colors were faded. They're old. What he's thumbing through, you know.
Oh yeah.
A lot of them look really brilliant still, but some of them were kind of damaged. So I totally, we're honest about that.
Well, I've got pictures of the astronauts, and you see that sun coming through that window.
Oh yeah.
My pictures that were hanging on the wall weren't directly hit, but that's going to really knock their. It's going to knock. We're just going to ruin those photographs with that.
Yeah, it will.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think Brett.
We have
the picture I'm looking for. No, I couldn't find it immediately. Those are probably with those, Brett, that we have in that other storage. Sorry. I just have a short flip stand here with some of the most popular ones from the very first Mercury, Gemini, Apollo, all the way up to the first shuttles. But I was hoping maybe I had that one there. It would be great, but I don't have it.
You actually have one in that series that was shown on Aliens on the Moon.
Right.
On Sci-Fi. And it's the one, Donna, where they were showing a tubular structure in the middle of the big mare area,
right?
And also the really sorry looking satellite dish that was over on the side,
right?
I'm looking.
Yeah,
Right.
It was that image.
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
A long time to follow it.
I would like to continue with another picture here. With Chris has sent to us, and I'm gonna ask Chris to give a presentation of the first picture he wants to show us.
Well, I also wanted to just comment too about Joe's photo as well. I think he had a very good eye for this, and NASA's good for this. You guys know this, where they'll take anything that's of any value or something they're trying to hide, and they'll just white it right out and completely whitewash the photo. And so for him to find that, you did awesome on this, Joe, because I'll tell you what, I watched that video you done, and I went, wow, he pulled that darn thing out of this? Good for him. So,
the key to it is to increase the pixel density. When you find something, is to take a clip of that area and then add a lot more pixels in there. So it would probably start around 300 pixels per inch. You want to take it up to 2,000 pixels per inch.
Usually the 300 roughly.
Yeah, and then you can enlarge it without it degrading too much. And then you can add loads of contrast and stuff, and that usually does it. But adding the extra pixels really helps because it stops the picture breaking up.
Yeah, pretty much.
Yeah.
All right, the first one I've got up there, and that one's from Ken Johnston and Bret's work there. And I want to say a big thank you to you guys, by the way, because here's the thing. To get this work out, no, I mean, I really appreciate it, because to get this out and put this on the internet, kudos to both of you, because here's the thing. Any photos I use that have to do with the moon is from your archives. I don't use that garbage.
Thank you.
I don't use any of the garbage from NASA, because that's exactly what it is, garbage. Although these photos have been manipulated as well, they're not nearly manipulated as, you know, anything from NASA. And I've had a fight with one of your best friends there, and of course I'm being sarcastic, goes by Jim or James, and I'm not going to get into his last name if you know what I'm talking about. But
oh, you mean James Oberg and all them?
Yes, you know exactly what I'm talking about. Yeah, and the thing is, he gave me the same photo of the one I got on the top, and this is the one you guys actually had the 2 arrows and circle and stuff like that on the original photo. And he gave me one and said, no, I want to give you the high-res photo. And guess what it was? Completely washed out, period. I went, how is this the high-res photo? How do you get any more, you know what I mean, than a Hasselblad? How do you get any more high-res than that? I mean, you know, so I was kind of laughed at him. Of course, I just threw him off my channel. But anyway, if you click on that first one, what I liked, you know, we went over this. In fact, Thomas, you know, we actually talked about this photo in one of our Skype sessions. And of course, we were commenting on that left arrow that you showed this big, I don't know what that is, but it looks like an extremely large structure. I don't know if it's half buried or what it is, but, you know, when you look at these, and of course, anytime I've done a video on this particular photo, and of course, I gave you guys props for this because this is not my work. I didn't put the arrows on or anything like that. What I was intrigued with was the item in the back. If you look at the very top of the edge, and then go to about 2 o'clock, 2 o'clock position, it looks like this giant capsule with an appendage sticking out of it. And what I was like, it almost looks like these, like an aspirin type thing capsule. And you can see what it has. It looks like it has this vertical dark stripe on it, but it looks like it has an appendage, like a wing or something kind of sticking out of this thing. And then if you click on the very second photo, I've got that zoomed in and where I got rid of most of that haze and garbage over it, and you can clearly see this thing. It is not natural. It is not part of the lunar surface. This looks like a giant craft of some sort laying right on the surface of this moon. I'd love to get your take on it. Tell me what you think, because this is one of your favorites. I know that, because that's, you know, obviously you guys have done this. And tell me what you think. But I looked at that, like I said, I zoomed into that one and enhanced it. Like I said, it's the second one down, and you can see that item, like I said, right around 2 o'clock position. And that thing is just huge. Whatever that thing is not lunar surface. It's not naturally occurring. It's not, and I went, whoa, what is, that had me convinced. That just absolutely had me convinced is, you know, 100% there's something on this moon.
And if you zoom in on it a bit, actually, if you look over to the left of it, the object I'm talking about, there's a kind of white thing sticking up with a pipe coming off it. Yeah. Going off to the left. Can you see that?
Yeah. Well, you know what I did? Look at the original. Look at the actual original one, and you will see that you can see where they put like this darker garbage over this white area. And look closely, you'll actually see the white underneath the darker, I'm going to say airbrush, whatever they were doing that time, to take it out. So what I used was the dodge tool, and anything that has a white signature will actually start to pop. It'll start to pop out more and more, and that's how I was able to get that craft more than what it's showing. When your buddy there, Mr. James, showed me this washed out, it really does, believe it or not, it looks like a crater from a distance. Smart, crafty little devils, aren't they? But when you look at this enhanced photo with it up close, oh yeah, there's no doubt about it. I mean, I'd love to hear your take on that thing.
Okay, now, Chris, now I'm looking back at the original one we were talking about earlier, where the craft, and you've got the ring circle on. I'm looking over on the left-hand corner, just about part way up. There's a darkened area with the center island, perfect circle, and look at the lines coming up. It looks like a complete alien base with. That is a fascinating looking picture there.
Yeah, but now, absolutely.
I don't see the one that you were posting up there. So, but I know exactly what you're talking about, because when I was there, it went back to Houston for the first time in 20 plus something years, and Mr. James took me aside because he wanted to show me the video he had from Apollo 14, where we were showing things off of my pictures, and he said, "So there's nothing here and everything else." Well, it was a handheld video cam that was handheld looking out one of the windows of the command module, not from the payload bay, which Bret can wax eloquently on the fact that it was being controlled by the what's called sextant there inside the command module. So anyway, yeah, it's amazing the trouble they go to try to act like, oh, there's nothing there. There's nothing there. Don't look over here. I don't want you to look over because there's nothing over here. You know, this the sleight of hand thing. Yeah, it's pretty sad. And you guys, I'm really delighted that you're getting some use out of some of the pictures that I've kept for 47 years. Great.
Donna, you saw the picture that Chris just presented here and Ken has just commented on. What's your thoughts on a picture like this showing what looks like an alien construction city and huge areas with what looks like artificial created structures in?
Some of it I had noticed were even, you know, what's so bad is while you were showing this, I'm so disgusted that this stuff has been covered up because this tells me right away, the non-clarity of it tells me it's been messed with. Mm-hmm. The Hasselhoff cameras were perfect. The distant photographs were perfect. Whenever I see it start smearing like that, it's been covered up. It's been altered in some way. Mm-hmm. That is the most beautiful pictures that I've ever seen coming back. They were clear, perfect, and it's just, I get really disheartened seeing NASA and our government cover the beautiful things up. Believe me, if I had pictures, whatever I would have, I would share, and I would tell. Mm-hmm. If I have had personal experience with craft, I tell, and I share. But because I get so frustrated with the secrecy of it all. That's what I'm getting upset.
I think we all do.
One thing I did want to ask you, Donna, were there any particular techniques they used to use for painting out various things in these images? Did they use paint or ink or some other techniques?
It would depend on what they would be working on. If they had a clear overlay, they could add something to it, or they could take a negative and do some kind. You're working in reversal. Now you got to remember, I worked in graphic arts. This was an airbrush lady, and I think Ken probably knew more about airbrushing. I was trying to learn it. All I saw was a large negative and the lady painting with a dark opaque ink that was real thick.
Yeah, I have an airbrush right here, actually, in my office here.
And it's kind of a misnomer that I'm saying airbrush because she wasn't airbrushing at the time. She was using a paintbrush.
Yeah, straight onto the image.
Right.
Was that done with an acetate overlay first, or just straight onto? Yeah.
Well,
so I did this at
had
college.
A negative she was working with. I think it was the opposite. Yeah. They composite them together and they can cover something up.
So you can put a composite. You can have like a layer of acetate, and you can paint stuff out on the acetate, block it out, and then you can take another photograph of that through the acetate.
Right.
Which would then obscure the anomaly. I see what you mean.
All right, so they're actually layering them, so to speak.
They
block out whatever they like.
Yeah, and
this is what I suspected.
In registration.
Well, believe it or not, they're doing the same thing they're doing now. They're doing what they call Z-stacking from the rover on Mars. They're actually stacking. They're taking a photo and they're laying them, and they'll do like 3 or 4 different pictures of that same exact, let's say, outcropping of rocks. And what they'll do is they'll take, like, they're almost completely clear, but then they'll just block out whatever they want, and they just overlay it and then take the picture. So they're not doing anything much different.
Let me jump in real fast. May I jump in real fast here, Joe? Whenever I walked through into the actual photo lab where we were watching this take place, they had taken the original negative and enlarged it to an 8x10 size, and then they were actually going in and, as Donna said, they were actually painting in with opaque paint to paint out images that they didn't want us to see. We didn't have Photoshop, and we had airbrushing. Right, we had airbrushing. We didn't have that. But so that was going on, and it was quite a shock.
Yeah, a little background on the history of that. Chesley Bonestell created that technique for Disney, where they overlay things with acetate.
Right.
And they refilm it, So yeah, that Disney is involved in that little process, So,
No, what I find amusing really is that JPL. If you say, you know, I told people on the video, I said, guess who invented Photoshop? And they go, no idea. JPL. You know, you got these people that are working with it, and strangely enough, all of these pictures are obfuscated and manipulated and whatever else, and there you go. There's your, you know.
Yeah, they created the Phong and blend technology, the filters.
Yep.
And that, you know, JPL, they use open source software, so they still use GIMP to this day.
Really?
The image manipulation tool. Absolutely. And it's got all the old NASA stuff in there.
Yeah.
You know, that they use. It's still cool.
Wow.
What do you think about that, whatever that is, and what do you think that is? Is that a craft to you, Brett, or on the second photo?
That pill-shaped one?
Yeah.
Or, okay, well, yes. To be blunt, that's not natural. That's not a rock with a big line through it, no.
No.
Have
And
you
it has like
any-
some kind of weird wing or appendage or something sticking out of this thing. I don't know what that is, but clearly that's not natural.
Well, it's too geocentric. You know, it's not. It couldn't be natural. At least part of it is not natural. You know, let's put it that way.
Brett,
They
I
tried
would
to
like
fudge it out.
sorry to interrupt you. I would like to ask you a question, Brett, because I know you're one of those who have been looking at most lunar images in this world. I'm pretty sure. Have you any idea of how many objects that could be craft that you have been located and pointed out?
For sure, not too many. And I remember each one in my head. You know, that I can say without any doubt that's a craft. I saw something, like I said, similar, which is what I think is a landed craft as well, around that same area that pill-shaped one is. It's actually in the strip or island right above the Sea of Tranquility if the image was flipped the other way around. You know, there's a little island there.
Yep.
And it's like a long strip, and it looks like at first volcanic material, you know, but it's created direct lines that are sequential, you know. So it tells me that there's a base there and that these objects are actually there and that they've been obfuscated. So that's exactly what I'm seeing with this image in particular, in contrast, you know.
Well, could I ask you something, Brett? And also, Ken, if you could answer this for me. I've been looking at a lot, like you guys have. I've been looking at these moon images for many years now. And one thing that's always struck me, especially with the images taken by the astronauts on the ground, is how smooth everything is. Now, if you look at pictures of 67P, you have very jagged rocks and very irregular, some of them not so irregular, but very jagged surface, very rough surface. But when you look at the moon images, the hills and mountains are kind of all smooth, like they've been eroded by water and wind. Do you think that the moon might have been once a dwarf planet with an atmosphere? I mean, maybe billions of years ago?
Yes.
That's a quick answer. Yeah, there is evidence that from the samples brought back that part of the geology, as I understand it, does show that the evidence at one time that the moon did have more of an atmosphere than what we have now. Just like Mars had a lot of its atmosphere stripped away, so did the moon. You're talking about billions of years ago. Yes.
Yeah, a long, long time ago, yes, of course. I mean, I'm glad you said that, because I've always thought this when you look at the images on the ground, how smooth everything looks and how it looks eroded by wind and maybe water. A bit like Pluto does, in fact. It's quite smooth.
I'm still getting in very heavy on the mass cons and the fact that a great deal of the interior of our moon is hollow. And I still haven't given up on the possibility that it might be an actual craft of sorts. So, but there's a lot of evidence.
That's another thing. That's another thing I would like to ask about. Do you think it's also a possibility that the moon was used to evacuate a dying planet in the great distant past, by another race of people from somewhere else in our locality, somewhere like Mars perhaps, or somewhere further away.
It was us.
You're referring to a Dyson sphere, if I'm correct. So an actual a manufactured or a created a planetoid is a Dyson sphere, and that's speculation, of course. But then I think that if there is enough hollow spaces, not only within our moon, but then on Phobos around Mars, it could be an artificial structure. But again, that's speculation based on enough information that it could be possible, sir.
Yeah, well, when you have a capsule part of the rocket actually hit the moon and it rings for like 3 days straight, that kind of makes you go, really, that's solid, huh? And now they're finding different metals. They're finding real dense metals in the middle, and that's why I think they're saying, well, it appears to be somewhat hollow. And, usually things that are metal usually ring. It's not usually a stone object, if you will. So I find that kind of interesting.
Most people don't realize that each time that we actually left the lunar surface, rendezvoused with the command module, after transferring all of the samples we brought, we would separate the lunar module from the command module and then remotely fire the engines and cause it to come in and impact. And every time it impact, we'd ring the moon again. I'm glad and some of the pictures that I've submitted shows the actual geological tracings of how it oscillates for up to 6 days. Now, when you have a volcanic or an earthquake ringing here on the Earth, it may ring for a few minutes, but not 6 days. That's amazing.
Well, now, let me ask you a question. Is that the reason why they brought the seismographs up there, just to test that theory, or were they thinking still maybe earthquakes or volcanic? Do you know of anything about that?
Yeah, both. One probably was the primary, and the other one was a secondary purpose of that. But at the time we were training, and we were training the crew on how to remove the ALSUP, the Apollo Lunar Surface Experiment Package. It was mostly just to set up and see if there was any volcanic activity or lunar quakes, if you will, on the lunar surface. But it wound up after we sent the first lunar module back, they impacted on the lunar surface, and things started ringing. I think that made everyone, jump on that very quickly, and it became the secondary or the primary reason for having those seismology sensors.
We have had some very good questions, and it seems like Chris and Joe are the guys with the questions today. We are almost running out of time here, so if any one of you have a last question before we end up here today, Joe, Chris?
A short comment.
Yeah, Bret, go on.
Yes, if we look through NASA's propaganda, there are things that leak through, very scientific things, that from our very smart scientists and such, that the white hats or whatever you want to call them that work for NASA, and they talk about the solar cycles, how the sun can turn into a red dwarf and die and then become a white dwarf again, like our regular sun. And I believe there was a need to move around from planet to planet. And I think we've been on the moon in ancient times. And I don't really know for sure if it's hollow, but I can, with just a sense of knowing, I can say that they at least used that big rock to base things on, to base structures, to base technologies, even underground. From what my friend said, that the one that I can't disclose, he said they used the lava tubes a lot, to shelter themselves from the solar radiation. So that there's a lot of really cool things that leak through with the NASA stuff.
Yeah, I know we do criticise NASA's images a lot of the time, but I must say the vast majority of the moon images have not been obfuscated.
Right.
The vast majority of them are actually as they were. They may have been downsized a little bit.
Well, yeah, if you go back to the old ones, yeah. But I believe, I'm just the opposite. I think the majority have been manipulated. I don't mean to an extreme. I mean, they've been touched up here and there, but would you guys agree that they're going back and maybe going over them?
Yeah,
Is that
there's
a
a less
possibility?
there's a less nefarious reason for that. Like Donna said, to make postcards, to make pretty pictures.
Yeah. But I mean, I noticed that because I can go back to, well, like I said, your favorite fan there, Ken, when he come back with this high-res photo of this particular first photo I showed you, well, yours and Bret's, I mean, it was totally washed out. My theory is that they're going back to these and they're saying, you guys didn't do a very good job of taking all of this stuff out. Just go back and touch up.
Yeah.
Now, this might have happened back in the 70s and 80s, and they've done this, but the ones you have are a whole lot more detailed. Even though they might have been, manipulated and stuff, but they're still a lot more detailed than the garbage that they're either went over and copied, and I don't know. I mean, that's just my theory.
The picture of the century they put out, it was of Copernicus crater, and it was going to the Smithsonian Institute as a pretty picture. Okay, so I caught the LORIRP changed that image 6 times and posted each change on the internet.
Imagine that.
I'd like to jump in real fast, and so I'm absolutely just thrilled that you guys are getting some benefit out of the archive that I saved. The other people that may get to listen to this, if they'll go to kenjohnstonmedia.com, they can actually go in and download a lot of the anomalies. I say Bret, myself, and Karen, we purposely didn't try to go in and look for others. There's enough out there. Other people can find all kinds. I love the fact you've already found this craft on the surface. And there's so much more to be found, and it's there. It's free for them to download. It's part of my autobiography. I think it's the last part of it, Bret, where we actually included about half a dozen really good alien bases and information there in the archive. So everybody in the world can get that part free. Just go in or go to Roswell at the Roswell UFO Research Center, because then we donated a complete copy of everything in high def. So
if anyone finds anything, runs across some things that I've kind of pointed out or whatever, please research that thing, even in more depth, enhance it or whatever you want to do. I wasn't allowed to enhance it. I wasn't allowed to do nothing but show the original image.
Yeah.
I'd like to say that.
You find something, you get complete credit for being the one that took the time to dig in and look and find these, and that's beautiful. That's what it's there for. And what can they do? I feel so much safer now, the fact that we published it to the world, and they can't get rid of me, and to get rid of them, they're out there, so I'm safe.
Oh yeah, there's a whole lot of people I got to get rid of.
We are going to leave a link to Ken's site on marsmoonspace.com and in this YouTube video also, so you can find the links to Ken's images. This has been 45 really great minutes. Some good questions has been asked, and we have had some good answers to them as well. We didn't go through so many pictures today. We looked at these two presented by Chris and Joe today, and I guarantee you when we come back we will have more awesome pictures from Ken Johnston's archive to present to the world and to all the viewers out there. I want to say thank you to Joe White, thank you to Chris Maroney, thank you to Donna Hare, thank you to Bret Colin Sheppard, and thank you to Ken Johnston for taking your time to being here today and talking together at this round table. The modern time round table is called Skype today. Thank you, Raoul, for taking your time to be here, and I hope to see you for a round number 3. To all of you out there, until we see you again, take care. Bye.
Goodbye. And I'll go to Skype school before this happens next time.